What company is surprisingly behind the times for how successful they are? The Massachusetts Registry of Motor Vehicles has an online website for renewing licenses and the like, but it's shut down on weekends, holidays, and I think at night. They could have had a nice online system but instead decided to say frick you. I worked for a community bank that still uses a paper-driven system for recording transactions. Sounds archaic, but hugely advantageous because it provides a lot of protection from hackers. One time someone did a hostage scam on them, and they basically told them to frick off, disconnected the computers, and ran totally on paper until the systems was up and running again. Pain in the butt for the tellers, but still surprising shrewd. It's like the Battlestar Galactica of banks. Craigslist, the guy who made it only makes money off paid job postings, runs no apps, employs a very small team, and hasn't felt the need to expand or take advantage of his platform. He's the most humble businessman I know of. Not a company, but the death infrastructure. We have absolutely no clean mechanisms in place for death. I'm just talking paperwork, or full heart-rending trauma aside. Having to manage the paperwork for a dead loved one is crazy. You have to individually inform all banks, government agencies, separately, debtors, insurances, etc. And you're not given a list of these. The legwork is on you. They all need different kinds of verifications, almost always physical stamped super special paper that you have to go obtain and pay for after waiting hours in line. The system has no idea how to process a person who has stopped existing, which would be acceptable in a vampire society of immortals or something, but this crap is happening thousands of times an hour. Kodak was, and they lost their business to bankruptcy because of it. They had absolutely monopolized the entire film industry, and then the digital camera age hit. Ironically, someone at Kodak actually was one of the pioneers for creating digital cameras and storing images in the way that we do today. The executives tried to hide it under the rug in hopes that no one would ever find it, likely so that they could continue their empire. They had absolutely every resource to open a new digital line, but just refused to change. RIP Kodak. State Farm, the world's largest insurance company, uses a DOS-based computer program that was created before I was born to store and make changes to your insurance policy. Sears, they led the way in catalog sales for years. They missed a huge opportunity to convert those clients to an online model. When I go to the mall, I always park in front of the Sears. There is so much more parking there. Not one specific company, but in certain industries there will be one or two suppliers for certain things. In cases where the supplier is ran by the old guy who started it, his uninterested son, and a random minimum wager, the company will operate way behind the times. For example, I used to work in the ag industry for a spray plane company. One day they needed a part on the airplane fixed. Me, being the low man on the totem pole, had to drive 6 hours away to drop it off and then wait for it to be fixed. The only person in the nation who repairs this random part lives in the middle of nowhere and operates out of a hangar on an old airport. So I go there and there is this massive house, multiple cars, a few small airplanes, and other stuff to prove this guy had money. But it's just him in this dirty old hangar. Basically, there are people who are specialized in something really specific and they can make a lot of money, but their businesses are always ran super well. The guy I talked about didn't even have an email account. So you either had to call his shop and hope he was in or send him a letter. Really inconvenient. I knew other companies that still did everything on paper and they had boxes and boxes for all their files. Some places were ran by really old people who refused to do things a newer and better way. And most of these companies I'm talking about do very well for a small business. Literally almost every company's job application page. They can be a Fortune 500 company and their job page is a clunky piece of garbage that looks like it was slapped together over a drunk weekend at a computer in 1995. The amount of times I've had fields marked necessary on applications asking me to select my university major, how you found this listing, whatever, from a non-alphabetized drop down with no other option is too dang high. I studied abroad for a summer. On a good portion of application forms for each submission under education, the school's name must match a name on some database the company has, or you cannot submit it. That list usually only has US schools. Most of them seem to use either Thalia, owned by Oracle, or Workday, owned by SAP. and both suck royally. The forms you fill out the first time you visit a new doctor. The top half of every page asks for the same info and they still copy your insurance card. Xerox. Freaking company basically invented the GUI, mouse, Ethernet, when they were making copy machines. What do they do now? Make copy machines. What did they do with all their technology they invented? Gave it away because they didn't know how it would be useful to their business. But gonna stop you right there. Xerox is not in the business of making copy machines. They are in the business of servicing and selling toner for said machines. I don't know about a specific company, but taxi companies are behind the times. Uber comes up out of the blue and builds up a business that the taxi companies are off about. They've been doing the same thing for years and years. The taxi companies should have gotten their crap together a long time ago. I had an Uber driver in a taxi pick me up last night. FOM, short for Formula One Group Management. Basically a group that takes care of everything financial for F1, from promoting the sport to deciding the calendar. Bernie Eccleston, CEO of FOM, doesn't want to use social media to promote F1, should be enough said. Now I have another reason to be at him. I was at the US Grand Prix during the Great Tire Debate and spent the whole crappy day watching the Ferraris duke it out behind the safety car. Texas Instruments calculators. They have an effective monopoly on the graphic calculator market, meaning they've hardly had to change their product range since the original TI-84 Plus, although even that was hardly different from the TI-83, 12 years ago. Granted, it's a brilliant piece of kit, and I still have my old TI-84 Plus because it's the best out there, but only recently have they started coming out with more modern tech like the Inspire, and even that seems clunky, difficult to use and dated. My favorite thing about the TI Inspire is that I can call it the Tinspire like it's some medieval style fortress haphazardly built from old cans and various recyclables. One that frustrates me isn't exactly a company, but virtually all medical billing is just awful. Modern medical science is just amazing sometimes, but where else do you go where not only do they not tell you a price for any of the goods and services they provide, but it's not even really defined? The rates they negotiate with insurance companies often vary and are usually different than if you were a cash customer. And once they decide what to charge you, they pretty much all just send you a paper bill in the mail. I pay literally every other obligation, including medical insurance, online and with paperless billing, but from a doctor or hospital, it's a paper bill only. This has screwed me more than once as I rarely check my mail anymore. Now some of them provide an online portal to pay, but even if they do, they usually suck and they never really email you notification of it. I often wonder why they bother collecting your email address in your paperwork since it's rarely used. The industry had to be forced by law to switch to electronic medical records, so I don't really see this changing anytime soon. End rant. Valve. I know they're a game development company and in many ways role models for the industry, but I often feel like they run Steam like a lemonade stand. My only complaint with the Steam store is that they refuse to quarantine early access games from full releases. So many games look interesting only to turn up as a $49.99 pre-alpha early access title. Studio Ghibli. Their movies are fantastic, but they are seriously behind in distribution. There's just no way to watch their movies legally by streaming, for example. I want to give them money, but I can't. Then again, they aren't really that financially successful these days, so maybe that's why. I can't believe nobody has mentioned iTunes. It's 2016. Apple, get your shit together because iTunes has always been a terrible user experience. I swear the crappy Windows version of iTunes is stealth marketing to get Windows users to switch to use MacBook Pros. I love Nintendo and will support them for way longer than I should. However, they always manage to have a great idea and then just completely freak up the execution. It's usually in how they handle online. It always feels so dated. I hope the NX is a success and they become relevant again. TBF, they do still produce the most durable products. Sure, the hinges on some of my 10-plus-year-old Gamma Boys DS are now getting a little busted up, but the software and every game still works. School systems. Sure, a lot of schools are new and modern, but I have a friend who goes to a school where they literally don't have enough desks for all the students. and the ones they do are pretty much destroyed. They have plenty of money, but the principal thinks it's more important to spend it all on the sports teams. Not all school money comes out of the same bucket. It's actually rather complex on how money can be spent. FedEx Office. The internet is like 1 millibar down and 2 millibars up, and they use AT&T Wi-Fi in their stores, which is equivalent to dial-up. This is a place where you should be able to go in and send files quick and easy to print. Instead you waste a ton of time. Caterpillar. At least they were successful. Now they are freaking the heck out that people don't want their underperforming engines or their overpriced machines. They compete with companies like GE who invest billions in their own employees and technology. Instead of doing that, CAT invests in startup companies with only executives or fires their highest performing engineers. Then, a few years later, when the economic situation is better, they wonder why they can't attract employees. The company I work for, a big box retail computer store, is way behind. Walking into one of their stores makes you feel like you are walking into the late 1970s, early 80s. Everyone is wearing shirt-tie combo. They are literally working on commission. The managers thank you for buying a computer. 30 years ago, I can see that, but come on, update a little please. Don't get me wrong. I love the company and what I do. I just wish it felt a little more modern. Cisco, one of the biggest technology companies on the planet and builds products that make up the backbone of the internet. Yet if you want a smart net contract, basically a service agreement that is essentially a license key, you can't get instant delivery. Instead, you need to buy through a reseller, wait 1 week, at the minimum, and they mail you a paper certificate. WTF. They know better than anyone anything digital and touching the internet is not secure. Costco is behind the times in terms of how well they treat their employees. Most big companies know people are desperate for jobs and treat their employees like crap. The CEO also seems to place an importance on selling quality products over making millions for himself. I have a couple friends who work at Costco, have for years, and love it. They really do good by their employees. It's really great. In-N-Out has no desire to mess with their successful strategy of offering tasty burgers, fries, and shakes. No salads, tacos, chicken sandwiches, seasonal shake flavors or rib sandwiches. No dollar menu. No toys or promotional tie-ins. They're doing business pretty much the same way they did when they started in the 1940s. Kohl's. It's like 1992 JCPenney in there. You want to know your credit card balance? Nope. Use the phone bank in the back of the store. Valve. 300 employees. No dedicated customer service. 8 people working on CSGO, one of the most popular games on Steam. Gaben is worth like $4.6 billion and the company is probably worth about that much too. They're the most popular PC gaming platform, but they think and act like they're a small tech startup. A multi-million-dollar company I used to work for had an issue with the server software one time, and so my boss tasked me with tracking down a replacement copy. The software was Windows NT. Most Japanese video game companies, Konami, are squandering their most valuable IP on pachinko machines. Dark Souls 3 didn't get a worldwide release date. Nintendo keeps eroding the goodwill of its fanbase and eschewing free advertising by content-eating YouTube reviews and Let's Plays. It's $ current year. Come on. The entire oil and gas industry, being a massive industry with a lot of high-paid suits wandering around, has resulted in a culture of bureaucracy that rivals the Vogons. Every one of these suits requires a proverbial dong sucking in order to approve the release of a few coins out of their Scrooge McDuck-style silos full of cash. And then you have the idea that any business gets once they become an enterprise, that their way of operating is so wildly unique that no off-the-shelf technology could possibly even begin to solve their problems. So everything must be custom built, and every dong-waging suit must be involved in every minor detail of the solution. And whatever solution someone comes up with, it must be capable of providing a constant stream of the most minute kinds of unusable data imaginable. Those goddamn spreadsheets are going to fill themselves with a million rows of bulls that say little more than goddang, we're inefficient as frick. To which the response will invariably be, we need more data. micromanage everything. But because everything is so locked up in bureaucratic nonsense, projects that should take a couple of weeks stretch months or years out, easily becoming obsolete before they ever hit the ground. If fuel weren't such an important commodity, the entire oil and gas industry would have imploded decades ago. I'd guess that for every dollar they make, they waste at least 3. Problem is, it only costs them 2 cents to make a dollar, so they come out ahead completely in spite of themselves. McKesson. Their software packages were purchased from third parties and rebranded. Nothing worked together smoothly. Flat file DBS next to SQL and Oracle. Programs coded in COBOL. Interface servers galore, and the new, cobbled together interface look 10 years old. Oh, and then they'll sunset the products you purchased halfway into implementation because meeting meaningful use deadlines is for suckers. I work at a restaurant that has the unique ability to run on no electricity if necessary. We have a crash kit in the office with lanterns, a card swipe and carbon paper. I have cooked on a gas stove, lit by lantern, and rung up many a customer with the knuckle buster. When our lights are out, so is the whole neighborhood's. We are always packed. When power comes back, we manually put everything in the system. We have never closed for any reason for several years. We are 24 hours. The US Forest Service. Their primary customer is now recreation tourists, not resource extraction companies. They've tried really hard recently to update their websites to be more consistently organized, but I still find them to be difficult to use. I go to their website for 2 things: maps and current conditions. That's it. Why are there 4,998 other pages, links, etc.? Why do they all sound like variations of the same thing? And as soon as you get off the homepage, the design falls into chaos with text everywhere in various fonts, colors, sizes, and you feel like you're going in circles trying to get the information you're looking for. Diebold. They make ATMs, banking equipment, and voting machines. They developed check reading years ago and have had few innovations since. They are notorious for hiring engineers straight out of college and never giving raises, so they always have engineers in training. Also, they pay their technicians crap wages, or at least did when I was there, but trained them very well. NCI uses this as free training, then hires them with a big raise. Most of the high-level management were former salespeople and do not appreciate the support that is needed with this type of equipment. But bottom line, and keeping up the stock price is their #1 concern. BTW. This is the opinion of a former employee that was let go. I was irritated when I lost my job, but my issues are more concern than being disgruntled. There are many great people that still work there that I respect. They hold that place together for pay that is on the low end of the salary scale for all positions. Don't get me started. Can we count the American college system? As great as many colleges and universities are in the US, a majority of them are far behind the times in terms of on-campus tech, major requirements, and professors who are unwilling to accept the times of today. Telstra Optus. Pretty much every internet service provider in Australia, using copper cables. Internet's down at least once a week. Crap internet, averaging around 200 kilobytes s for my area. There's no competition here for ISPs, so there's never really any need for groundbreaking work or new innovations and technologies being added to make things better and faster for customers. Oh, it's crazy expensive too. Maybe they're not successful anymore, but Sears. With the whole catalog system, you'd think that Sears would be all over the internet, or basically could have been what Amazon is now. They definitely could have become one of the giants of internet shopping, but for some reason just never upgraded. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.